Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. My name is Sharon, and this is a channel dedicated to all things narcissism, narcissistic abuse, and especially recovery from narcissistic abuse. Today's video is going to be about narcissists being dangerous people. The thing about narcissism is that when you're a narcissist, you are a master of manipulation. It's not that they're particularly brilliant strategists, but they benefit from being so mentally ill. In my example, I never dreamed that my husband was completely devoid of emotion. There were hints of it, and in retrospect, as I go back, there were so many red flags, it was crazy. But I wanted him to be a certain way, and he also wanted me to believe he was that way. So really, in a way, the two of us together propped up this fake person. And that's what it is. Narcissists aren't who they say they are. They live secret lives, and you can never really know what a narcissist is capable of. Over the last year, I've learned a lot about narcissists. And one thing that surprised me is that it's not unheard of for a narcissist to try and get you, their victim, into legal trouble. Now, today's video is going to be about why I'm actually separated from my narcissistic husband. We've been married for almost 20 years and have 2 kids. About 2 years ago, my narcissist started sliding down into a really bad place. And especially in the last year, things have really taken a turn for the worse. So I'm going to get into that today, and as the channel progresses, I have many, many stories to tell about what it's like being married to a narcissist. So in December, before December, my husband was going through these periods where he would go at length giving me the silent treatment, being cruel, abusive. It was getting very difficult to be with him because prior to the last 2 years, he would give me silent treatments or be cold, emotionally manipulative, lie to me, all the wonderful things that go along with being with a narcissist. But they would not last for months, which it was happening now. Not now, but at that time. So in December, he came home from work and he was just a real jerk. And I had just had it. And I said to him, you know what? If you're going to be this way, you got to get out. You can't be here. I can't live with somebody who's being so rude and giving me the silent treatment all the time. So he starts packing his stuff. And while he was packing his stuff, I was berating him. I was telling him what a jerk he was, how sick of this I was, how I couldn't stand how he was. Then I said, I'm going to stop keeping your secrets. I'm going to tell people what a jerk you are. When I said that, he stopped packing and he just looked at me so coldly and cruelly. He went into the hallway and he started banging his head on the wall over and over, just banging his head on the wall. Then he started screaming, "Mommy's hurting me. Mommy's hurting me. Ow, please stop hurting me." Right? I'm standing watching him beat himself up, basically. My kids come out of their room. They see him banging his head. We were all freaked out. Me and my kids were terrified. So I called the police. I didn't know what he was going to do. I didn't know if he was going to hurt us, what was going to happen. So I called the police. I'm on 911 with the police, and I'm telling them calmly what was happening. And in the meantime, my husband is continually screaming that I was hurting him. So a few minutes later, I heard an ambulance screaming down my street, and the police arrived. So they took, at that time he had stopped banging his head on the wall, and I could hear him telling the police very calmly, very matter of fact, "I can't believe it. She just assaulted me. I was just in my closet taking some clothes out, and she just pushed me into the wall and was hitting my head on the wall." Now, my husband's a really big guy, and I am a really small woman. there's no way I could do that even if I wanted to, which, believe me, wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. But so I was talking to the police, and in my garage, and he was on the driveway talking to the police, and I could hear him lying to them about me abusing him. It was the craziest thing. I couldn't believe it. So I was talking to the police, and they told me right away that they believed me and that they were going to try to get him to leave the house. Now, they told me that because, it was his house too, they couldn't really make him leave, that I'd have to get a restraining order for that to happen. But they were going to try to get him to leave. So they eventually got him to leave. They told him to leave. They told me, actually, that they had lied to him for me. So, a lot of times I know people accuse the police of being horrible. These guys really had my back. I'm very grateful for this, because they said to me, oh, his head's all messed up. He's saying that you beat him up. So, I told them, I was honest. I told them exactly what happened. And so, they told me that they believed me, and they got him to leave. Now, before he left, they let him go back in the house, and he was gathering things to leave. So I'm sitting there, and I can't express to you how crazy it was for me to watch this person that I thought I knew lying. He's telling the police, while he's gathering his things, that I've been stealing his mail. It's not true. And it was just weird. I'm like, why is he doing this? So he's telling them I'm stealing his mail and that he needs to get his medication, that he has heart trouble. I mean, this is all lies. He was trying to get sympathy from the police. It was crazy. Then, before he left, I couldn't find my phone. So I'm looking around for my phone, and then I asked him, do you have my phone? And he had stolen my phone. He takes it out of his pocket and hands it to me. The man was crazy. So he finally left, and then the police stayed to talk to me. And they told me that he wanted me to leave the house. He didn't want to leave the house. He wanted to be there with my kids alone. And the police, he told me point blank, he said, you know what? There is no way I was going to have you leave the house and have him alone with your kids. I couldn't trust what he might do. And that is exactly how I felt. That meant the world to me, because these guys really had my back. I just couldn't say anything bad about the police after this. So he left, and I just broke down with the police. I just couldn't stop crying. So they stayed and were comforting me and talking to me, and they actually got my pastor on the phone, and I was talking to him, and they told me, why don't you just go and watch a movie with the kids or just relax, because I have to tell you, because your husband accused you of domestic violence, it's a good chance that Child Protective Services are going to get involved in this. All right, so next day, guess what happened? I get a call from Child Protective Services. I've never hurt someone in my life, but now I was being investigated for abuse. So the woman came over. The stress I felt was unbelievable, because it was all a lie. It was all lies. So this woman comes over, and she was so nice. She really was nice, but it put my children and I through absolute agonies. She came over, she interviewed my children, she interviewed me, she went through every room of my house, she went through my refrigerator, and then she had to call and talk to 2 of my friends. So thank God I had talked to my pastor about this situation several times, and he was one of the people they called. And then a friend of mine actually was going through an abusive relationship with her own husband, and I had confided to her. So I did have 2 people that Child Protective Services could speak to. So it wasn't like I had to call people that had no idea what was going on and suddenly tell them that I'm being investigated for abuse. And it took 2 months for this whole investigation to go through, and I finally got a letter 2 months later saying that I was cleared of the charges. They were found to be unwarranted. So that was dealt with. But that was the last straw with my husband. He hasn't lived at the house since then. And, my husband has had a narcissistic collapse, and I'll get into what that is in another video. This happened in December. It is now July. My husband lives in his car. He wants to come back to the house. He doesn't have an apartment, or he's not staying with anybody. He's homeless. And that in itself is scary. He's waiting to come back. And that's the thing. Narcissists are extremely disturbed people. You don't know what they're capable of. They are crazy. And they, obviously they hide that from you, or you wouldn't be with a narcissist. Now, he doesn't hide anything. He's just full on crazy. My kids don't want to see him. I don't want to see him. But at the same time, I'm afraid of him. And that's part of this channel. It's almost like my therapy and a warning to other people. I guess to a degree, you really never know other people, anybody. But most people don't have this inner layer of cruelty. And that's what a narcissist does. They're cruel people. They're completely devoid of emotions. They want to hurt you. And that's what it is. And I have found out since then, because I thought this was a crazy situation, and it is. But I found out since then that this is not uncommon. Narcissists want to hurt you. And if they could get you into legal trouble, they'll do it. I've heard of cases of people being arrested for assault, having to go to court, anger management classes, all for a lie. Now, luckily for me, this is over. Don't have to do anything else. But imagine if the police had believed him, because at the end of the day, it's really your word against their word. So I just want to say, and this is kind of how it is in every video. If you are with a narcissist, it's not going to end well. You're either going to lose your mind with their crazy making, or you could lose your life. I look at the Chris Watts case in Colorado. I don't know if any of you are familiar with him. He was the man who 2 years ago killed his pregnant wife and his 2 little girls and put them in the oil tanks. He was a covert narcissist. His wife never dreamed that he would do this. My case, thank God, did not end up like that, but it was a similar thing. I never dreamed my husband would file a false police report. And that's the thing. The police told me that, it's against the law to file a false police report, but he could get into a lot of trouble for that, which I wish he had, honestly, but they told me that he would be unlikely to, because when it comes to domestic violence, they don't want to make people afraid to file a police report. So false police reports when it comes to domestic violence aren't often prosecuted. But so there's today's little story time, why I'm separated from my husband. And I have many more stories of the police coming over, my husband at the mental hospital. So my kids and I have really been through the ringer with this man. And that's what I want to do with this channel, is use my own experiences to warn people what can happen. Because I never, ever would have dreamed that this could happen. So I thank you so much for watching this video. And please give it a thumbs up if you liked it, and consider subscribing. My goal is to make a video at least most days, if not every day. I really want to see if I can get my experiences out there and help somebody. So hope everybody has a great day. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next video.